In my last video, I spoke about the 4 power sources in the golf swing, but power is no good if it is lost along the journey. So today I'm going to talk about the 3 connectors that put together all 4 of these power sources. I'm going to tell you exactly what they do, their role in the golf swing, and I'm also going to give you some tests that you can do yourself from home to measure your ability to connect this power. We're talking about taking the power from the ground, creating force, transferring it all the way through the body and into the golf club. So if we're losing energy in these 3 connectors, we're going to be losing power potential and club head speed. So here's the video. I'm going to take you through all of these steps and show you exactly what you need to do to optimize your power potential. Welcome back to the Macro Golf YouTube video. So in the last video, we spoke about 4 power sources of golf swing. I'm going to tag the video here. So if you haven't seen that, jump over there. You've got to watch that first because that's going to introduce you to this concept that we're talking about today. 4 power sources in the golf swing connected by the 3 connectors. So let's jump straight in. Power source number 1 being vertical thrust. We're going to transfer vertical thrust into rotational, okay? So power source number 1 into power source number 2. And we've got a connector in the middle of those. And the connector in the middle of those is our core loading. So it's loading of the core. Again, this concept seems pretty familiar to us, but essentially what we're trying to do is take this vertical force, take it through the ground, through the legs, this vertical thrust, and we're going to take it through the core and load that into a rotation. So we're going to transfer into rotation, vertical thrust into rotation, okay? And what we're doing there is loading the core sufficiently to transfer that energy. If we don't have the ability to transfer it, we're either not going to gain force through it. So what should happen is when we take it from one source to the next source, it should actually multiply. We should gain force as we transfer it because the elasticity effect, because of the transfer of the energy of one pulling off the other and excelling the another one, okay? So we should gain force. So we're either not going to gain force, or worse, we're going to lose force along the way. And this is due to your efficiency of transferring this power. So from our vertical thrust into our rotation, we should be gaining more force, gaining more power from this transfer. And that comes from our core loading. Now, there's a way of us testing this. And we do this, funnily enough, in our level 1 screening. So I'm going to put a video up here of our level 1 screening. We do this in level 1 screening. It's basically our dissociation test. Can we disassociate our lower half from our upper half? Can we create separation from lower half to upper half? And we see some of the best players in the world. No, not even the best players in the world. We see all good players do this in their golf swing. They separate lower body from upper body. They create this core loading and they transfer the energy from the lower half through into the upper half to create aggressive rotational power, okay? So the test we do is our pelvic dissociation or torso dissociation. We'll do both and test both. Doing a little demo here for you. And essentially what we're trying to see is can we basically move lower body and upper body independent of each other. And when you do this, and you can test this for yourself, we get a stretch feeling, a stretch motion, a stretch capability, which allows us to transfer that power into the torso. So now the power is in the torso, we're into power source number 2. We now need to transfer from power source number 2 into power source number 3. And power source number 3 is this arm chopped motion. So essentially we need to transfer the energy now from the torso, from this element of rotation, into the arms, okay? So what we're doing here really is, and I'm going to put some videos up here of some of the best players in the world doing this, we're essentially closing the gap between the chest and the bicep. That's the easiest way of thinking about it. So if you think of lead arm across the body, if I rotate my torso completely and I keep my arm in this position, I haven't closed this gap at all, right? I've just simply rotated and held this position. Now, if I was to hold this arm in the same place and close this gap off, this is the loading of the shoulder, and this is the connector of number 2, rotation, to number 3, arm being pulled down, right? So imagine me into a rotation position, arm out. As I rotate torso, but leave arm where it is, I create a closing of this gap, and that closing of the gap creates a power potential for the arm to get pulled down into position. Arm chop motion, power source number 3, okay? So what we're talking about here is this closing of a gap to create tension, to explode off in the other way. So chest is loaded, pulls, creates tension, creates load, arm gets pulled down in position, okay? That is connector number 2, taking rotation into arm chop. Our test for this, now this is quite an interesting test. We've not done this on any of our previous screenings or any of our other videos, so it's the first time you'll be seeing this. We can take the arm out into a horizontal position from the chest, and essentially what we're looking to do is keep the arm in the same position, but close off my chest angle. So I should be able to hold my arm out and close off my chest angle without this arm moving in this direction. So keep the arm in the same place and close off chest angle. So you see here I'm closing this gap, open this gap, close this gap. And some of you might find this really easy. Some of you might find this very difficult. So this is our measure of being able to create this loading of the shoulder, okay? If you're looking a little bit more like this, so for example, if you're trying to close, this arm seems to be going this way and you can't quite close the gap, or if when you try and do it, you bring the arm across this way, it tells us there's a bit of a confusion, look at the lack of coordination in being able to actually load power source 2 to power source 3. So you need a little bit of work on actually being able to improve your connection between those power sources, because if you're not gaining this kind of transfer of energy that should be increased, you're lacking speed being transferred into the arms, okay? And it's really gonna limit the amount of speed you're creating. No matter how much you're creating from the floor, if you lose it at this point, it's not gonna get shown in the golf club. So super important that we can transfer this from rotation into arm drop motion. And that leads us nicely onto connector number 3, leading power source 3 to 4. So power source 3 being arm chop, power source number 4 being wrist release. The way that we connect those two is from a wrist loading. So this essentially is lag, right? This is the classic buzzword of lag. This is actually what lag is. It's actually being able to load the wrist, okay? It's actually being able to load to be able to release. And that's what we're trying to do here. All of this energy has been built from the ground all the way through. It's been built up into rotation, created so much rotation. Then we released that into arm chop. We created so much arm speed, hand speed, and now finally we can release this into the head of the golf club. And we've got a really simple test for this as well, okay? All we're gonna do is we're gonna hold the golf club out in front of us, so it's perpendicular to the ground, and all we're gonna do is lift and raise the golf club and lower the golf club, keeping the shaft at the same angle. If you find that you struggle to hold it in the same angle and it feels like it wants to drop, or it wants to drop forward, or you feel like you want to try and lift it up in a weird way, it means you're struggling a little bit with your wrist mechanics and a little bit with your wrist coordination. So the first thing to do is to check mobility in the wrist, go back to your level 1 screen, video below, or you actually need to work on the coordination of this, because if you're struggling with here, it just means that all of this power you're producing is not being released correctly into the golf club itself. And that is so fundamental. We see it quite a lot where actually people have been able to transfer good power, they create good power in our tests. Club speed is just really low, and they're obviously losing this power through one of these connectors. And I think this is a big one, because sometimes this gets trained out of people, especially in irons, this gets trained out a lot. We also see it a lot if people get a little bit scared with driver, a little bit steery with driver. This is one of the connectors that will be lost. So speed drops, rhythm drops, coordination drops, consistency drops, strike drops, and everything then suffers. So this is a really, really key one, is connector number 3, connecting power source number 3 to power source number 4. And we really need to make sure that we are utilizing this to maintain as much speed as possible. So let's have a quick recap. We have 4 main power sources. We have our vertical thrust, we have our rotation, we have our arm chop, and we have our wrist release, and they are matched with our connectors of our core loading, shoulder loading, and wrist loading. So we create vertical, we create a thrust, that motion transfers into the core through our core loading, creates rotation, we then load into the shoulder, which creates the chop, we then load into the wrist, which creates the release. And if you get this sequence correct, and we see the best players in the world are very good at creating this sequence, you will have effortless power that you've always wanted. So hopefully this video helps you out on trying to find that little bit of extra speed. Last thing from me, remember, we here at Macro Golf, we believe a lot in blueprints, and this is exactly what we're talking about here. So if you are struggling with one of these areas, it may be that you can go for as many golf lessons as you want, and you're just not going to find the answer because your body is holding you back from releasing this power in the right way. So we can test for all these things, we can measure all these things, we can blueprint your power and understand what's going on in your body and causing that effect in your golf swing. So if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about that, the link is below, and all the details you can find out for working with us are there as well. But until then, guys, I'll see you on the next video.